Welcome to another banging episode of Africa Rising. Today we want to talk about African universities. Now, African universities, I'm not against them, but for me, I'm saying I don't see the role that they play on the continent and in the world. I'm not saying they're not doing anything. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they are useless. I'm not saying they don't serve a purpose. I'm not saying they're just taking up space for no reason. And I'm certainly not saying that we don't need them. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm simply saying is this. Every time Africa needs something, why do universities from the West have to look for those things, invent those things, and then produce those things? Whilst we have our own universities here. From as far as I know, Africa has not produced its own vaccines yet. Africa has not produced its own cars yet. Africa has not produced its own bicycles yet. And yet we have all these faculties in universities, mechanical, biological, pharmaceutical, whatever you name it. We have everything at our universities. And yet, when we need something, the West has to provide it. So my question is, what purpose does our universities, or what purpose do our universities serve if they're not there to do the things or produce the things that they study for? Most, if not all, our students study in our universities, go abroad, and go and produce things abroad. So for me, that doesn't make sense. So what's the whole point of having universities that don't produce anything that we really need in Africa? I'm not saying let's shut them down. I'm not saying let's close them down. But I'm saying let us start producing something. Let's start with the small things. Guys, vaccines. Let's start with the vaccines. You're studying, I don't know, whatever pharmaceutical subjects you're studying to produce vaccines, for example, right? A flu vaccine, everything is coming from China. It's coming from Britain. It's coming from America. It's coming from France. It's coming from wherever. What are we studying for if we're not able to produce the stuff? Okay, is it a money issue? Should the government pump in more money into university? Then let's do that. Dude, we are in 2023 now, and Africa still has not produced something of world class that we can call our own in Africa that I know of. I'm not saying they haven't, but that I know of, that we can say only produced in South Africa by a university of reputable standards. So at the end of the day, what I'm basically saying is, why do we need to wait for Harvard, Oxford, whatever, Singapore, Thai, Chinese universities to produce stuff that we have the capabilities of producing here? Why? Like for the pandemic as well. I mean, my whole gripe. Okay, let's just focus on one thing, right? Let's focus on the pandemic, for example. We have been having flus all these years, right? Vaccines have been made, maybe not up to scratch, maybe not up, but you've been working, and you've been working on all these different mixtures and formulas and all these things. Are you telling me that in 2023, since the start and the opening of the universities, that in 2023, no university in Africa was able to produce a vaccine for Africans? Are you telling me, are you that serious? Is it that hard? What is so hard about producing a vaccine? Is it the formulations? Is it getting the right composition? Is it getting the material to produce a vaccine? Is it money? What is the issue? Because when you look at university, as soon as you arrive to these university premises, right? First and foremost, let's start here. They are located in prime locations. Most universities are in prime locations. They occupy a big, large, huge space of real estate. They take up a lot of space, land-wise, right? They take up a lot of space. And most of these universities look prestigious from the outside, and possibly in the inside too, right? So my thing is this. Why do you look world-class if you're not able to produce world-class stuff? That is my problem with universities in Africa. You understand what I mean? I'm not saying they haven't produced anything. Yes, there's a long list of whatever they've produced. They've worked on this, they've done that. Yes, totally agree. But on the critical things like the vaccine, for example, a vaccine, no, they haven't produced anything that I know of. A bicycle, I haven't seen a world-class bicycle that Africa has produced. And yet we have mechanical engineers. We have All parts are coming from China. This has to be, gold has to go and get refined wherever else. I mean, what's the purpose of our universities? If I have to ask, what's the purpose of our universities? Let me know down below. Peace.